welcome back to the Shut-Office. The heater is on, it is making noise, and I am not turning it off because it is cold outside. And I won't start singing. You're welcome. It's been a hot minute. Okay, so it's been almost a month exactly since my last video came out. Oh, they're getting all snarky now. I'm telling you, I do this and they're like, oh, pick me. Hey, Toothless, go lay down. Lay down. Anywho, so my big Vlogmas plans, yeah, that didn't happen. I got one video up, got the other one was recorded and half edited by the time I got the call. So I've given a little bit of detail on the community page, but I'm just going, hey, just gonna totally just give you the thing. So I usually wake up around 2 o'clock. And that Friday, the December 1st, I woke up at around 1-ish, somewhere in there. And I went ahead and got up because I was awake and started puttering around. I had just gotten online and the phone rang. And I got over and went over and looked at it. 9 times out of 10, I don't answer the phone because most phone calls to our house, we still have a landline, and most phone calls are spam or, you know, telemarketers and all that stuffness, right? But I looked and the number looked familiar and I couldn't remember why it looked familiar, but I went ahead and answered it. That alone is crazy rare. And then I heard my friend Teresa's name on the other end, and I was like, hey, you don't know how lucky you are I answered this phone. And she interrupted me. Now, Teresa never does this. I mean, we interrupt each other when we're talking and bantering and having fun, but not at a time like that. That would be unusual. She's like, Shatona, Kevin's been in an accident. Jeremiah was at the scene. He said to call you. It's bad. They're taking him to the emergency room. And so I'm like, okay. So I jump in the car. So I went straight to the ER. They told me to go make the call to the back thing. You know, that's how ours works. Made that call, and she's like, no, they never brought him here. They've airlifted him straight to AV, which is in Lancaster, 90 miles away. So we live in a really remote area of the desert. We're 90 miles in any direction from Bakersfield, Victorville, Lancaster. Just this crazy Navy base in the middle of the desert. And if that's not an oxymoron, I don't know what is, right? But I came home, threw stuff in a bag, you know, trying to, you know, I wasn't even, it's like tooth stuff. I need tooth stuff. I need a brush. Gonna need clean underwear. I mean, I was just doing this thing, trying to think. And I told my daughter, my kids, by the time I got back, my kids were there. Somebody had let them know. My daughter said, you know, she would get me a hotel room so that I didn't have to try to do that. So on the way down there, I was like, you know, dictating a book, and I was listening to my notes later. It was really funny. I was listening to my notes later, and I'll be going along with, you know, just telling the story, and all of a sudden I'll be like, okay, God, I know you've got this, but just remember that this is my husband and I need him, you know? And I mean, it was really kind of, because you know how you have those moments where it's like, you know that you love the Lord and you know that you are completely committed to him, but you still have this thing like in a bad situation, am I going to cling to him or am I going to go off on the rails? You know, you have these moments. Well, I had this really unique experience of hearing my thoughts back when I was transcribing those notes. I was hearing my own thoughts, you know, I mean, even to the point where I was like, you know, I remember that there was this one section that I was like, Lord, if he's not there, please don't make us have to make a decision. Take him, just take him. And it was such a neat experience to listen to that again and go, you know, what's going on? So eventually we find out. I know I got there, my husband was out of it. He didn't know where he was. He had no memory of what happened. He still doesn't. He only remembers a tiny bit that I'll tell you about in a second. But he was really confused, so much that in the middle of the night they had to restrain him because he woke up, didn't know where he was disoriented, and ripped the IVs out and tried to climb out of bed with a broken hip and pelvis. So not really, you know, optimal there, right? So what happened is, so my husband's idea of fun, He takes off the month of December every year. And his number one goal in December is to ride his bicycle. He rides a racing bicycle. And it's about 26-mile loop from our house all the way out to the little Inyakern and all the way back into town. And he just rides the same loop every time. He was almost home when this happened. There's just like one major street up and then one major street over. On that corner, he came to the corner, saw nobody there, and so he blew through the stop sign. There's a Ring camera. The whole thing is somebody's doorbell Ring camera caught the whole thing. So he came around that corner, he saw nobody, and he went ahead and went. That's the last thing he remembers. At the same time, there was somebody in a truck going down the road who also blew through the stop sign. And my husband's head hit the front headlight. And that's all she wrote. He has zero memory of it. And he's really beating himself up. My daughter's like, Dad, even if you had come to the stop sign and stopped, you would have assumed the truck would stop and you would have kept going and it would have happened anyway. And I'm like, you know what? She's totally right. So it does make him feel a little bit better to know that even if he hadn't done it. The thing is when you're on a bicycle, especially in a remote area like we are, when you're on a bicycle, he uses those pedals with the clips. And yes, they slide in and out to get on and off, but it is kind of a hassle. And so he tends to do this. A lot of cyclists in this area tend to do this. It's not right. I'm not claiming it is, but it isn't unheard of. It's pretty common. So anyway, when they got to the hospital, some things changed. So when we were first told that he had brain bleed, yes, he did. A concussion, yes, he did. A broken rib, apparently he did. He has had zero effects of a broken rib. It's one of the floaters, and it's in the back, but he's never had any discomfort from it, which is good. Broken hip. The pelvis is broken right in the middle. So the hip is broken where, you've got the little pelvis, and then you got the hip socket. Well, apparently when the leg slams into it, it tends to break that there. So that's what that is. They said facial fractures. There were no facial fractures. He had a cut on his eye, huge swelling on his head. He looked pretty horrible. I'm trying to remember what else. We think something happened. We don't think they caught it. We think something happened to his knee. His knee is still swollen. And this is my guess. We can't know. But my guess is, again, those clips for his shoes, when he hit, before it released, we think it twisted his knee a bit. So we think he's got a little wrench in there. I don't think it's too severe because he's moving it and there's not a lot of pain. He's not had a ton of pain at all. In the hospital, I think the highest he ever said his pain was at a 5. It was really became kind of a joke. They would say, which pain level? And he'd be like, 4. Every single time. I got to the point where I'm like, I bet he'll say 4. But he had a really hard time grasping what happened because he has no memory and he has this traumatic brain injury. That was Friday. On Tuesday, they did surgery to screw his hip back together. And on Wednesday, they did physical therapy. They got him up. He walked to the door and back about 10, 12 feet, something like that. And he did great. I mean, he was wiped out, but he did great. On Thursday, nobody came for physical therapy. He laid in bed all day. On Friday, nobody came. And I saw him give up. I mean, I just watched him give up. He didn't interact with us. He didn't try to drink. He didn't try. I mean, he just completely gave up. I was like, oh boy. Saturday, the same thing. And so, but late on Friday, we had a little glimpse, and we saw a little bit of giving up there on Thursday as well when they didn't come, but not as much as Friday and Saturday. Well, late on Friday, though, someone mentioned something about discharge. They were trying to get him into this facility, and there were these 2 facilities fighting over it, and it was like nothing was happening. And so we talked, that someone mentioned discharge, and my husband perked up a bit, and I was like, okay, he wants this. We're getting him out of here. We're getting him home. My son works at a physical therapy place. We're doing this. We'll get him the help he needs because clearly the hospital is not doing it. So we off we went, and we said we want him out. And so the next morning I get up, I get there, and they said, you want to be discharged? You know, that's what he's talking about. I'm like, yes, we want to get him home. We've got to get him home. It was kind of a mess. He sat in a chair for 40 to 50 minutes when he hadn't sat at all this entire time. He was just literally pouring sweat off of him because it was just so much concentration not to fall out of that chair. He was so dizzy. But I'm not kidding you. I went from seeing this guy who wasn't interacting with people, he wasn't eating, he wasn't drinking, he just wasn't doing anything, to we got in the car, and from Lancaster to Rosemond is about 11 miles, I think, ish. I feel like it's like about 11 miles because it's like Avenue J, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, 10 miles, so about 11 miles. He started chatting. I got gas, and we got on the road again, and by that point he was talking, and he was trying to process things and find out what was going on. So total night and day from a 10-mile drive. Got him home, got him in bed. We got his doctor's appointments and his physical therapy scheduled. And now he's had about 2 weeks of physical therapy. When we got home, I had to swing his legs in and out of bed. He could not use that left leg at all. And now, after a few days, he needed me to help lift him up into the walker. And we had to, I had to be like right there because he could just barely get across. Bathroom, I was just so concerned about the bathroom thing. It worked out well. But now, he can get in and out of bed by himself. He's doing all this exercise by himself. He's now using his water pick at the kitchen sink. He's shaved. My husband shaved. I was so excited. I mean, I'm not a whiskers guy. And yeah, so he just, that was like, ah. So, he's clearly improving. We go on the 2nd, I think it is the 2nd. And hopefully there's I think there's staples in where they did the surgery. It feels like that's what that probably is. We kind of need those out. And like the stitches, we need them out. And there's nothing on the discharge papers about those things. And so we're hoping our doctor can take care of this because we're like, it's a 3-hour round trip minimum to go back down to Lancaster. You have no idea. I just don't think you can comprehend what it's like to be down there. And my kids are great. When you have 9 kids, it's great because they can come at different times and it's not all a burden on one kid to be there. But just having someone so that I can go walk away and just go to the bathroom without him freaking out. Those kinds of things, that was great. But that's a lot to put on a guy who really can't sit well. And who, it's like, so we want it done here if we can get it done here. So that was our fun stuffness. It was a big deal, but we're glad. He's home, he's well, and he's improving. He's got the rest of December off, and I think he's taken off January now too. That's why we save leave, so that you have plenty of time in cases like this. I'm really grateful for the job that he has. He works for the Department of Defense. Thank you for paying your taxes. And, so it's a good thing. But it's still going to be, at this point, he's still not supposed to be putting any weight on it. So he's still using the walker. And, he has to take a wheelchair to get out of the house. But he's actually asking to leave the house. So that's kind of cool. So he's doing a lot better. I thank you guys for your prayers. Knowing people are praying, and I had you guys praying. I had people on my message board praying, and people on my Facebook group praying. And literally, truly, people all over the world were praying for us. And it's just such a neat sense of family and community that I don't know how people go through stuff like this without the Lord and his people. I just don't. So I'm totally grateful, and I just wanted to do that little bitty update that's probably taking up about half of this video. But there's the story. Now you know it all. And I don't know when things will be normal again, but I'm in the Shedifus finally. So clearly there are changes, right? So this video is supposed to be about this 24 goals that I want for 2024. I've written down 22, I think. We'll go through them in a second. And then I'm going to ask for things that maybe you think I should consider. You know, you've seen how I do things, how I don't do things, what, you know, what is good and not good for me. There are a few things that I've considered that I'll throw out there. And I kind of want your input. If I mention something that you're like, no, tell me. It's all in pencil right now. And so I've got a few days to change it. So here we go. My goals, they're mostly reading, a little bit of writing. To me, that's reading, writing, and paper crafts are kind of all in one thing. So there we go. So I think it's all paper. But this is what I've got. Obviously, it's my next video. I have the Chantal Reads All Day, her Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. That's a thing. This year, it's been a lot easier than last year, even though it's technically more complicated and on the same thing. But this year, I changed some stuff up on how I did it, and you'll see that then. Then I want to know, I saw this buzzwordathon thing that people have talked about. Books and Lala, I think is who does it. And I don't know. Do I want to do that? Sounds kind of fun, but I don't know. So, tell me what you think. Also, so this was the year of Googe, is what I called it. Really stupid name. What was I not thinking? It should have been a Googe year, right? It was a very good year, right? It should have been a thing, and I totally blew it the whole stinking year. Anyway, I'm over it. I'm fine. Everything's fine. So, but this year I wanted to read the Barsetshire series by Anthony Trollope. There's 6 of them. So there's 2 ways I can do this. Most of them don't look all that intimidating. The last couple are a little bigger, but they don't look like that intimidating. And I've read like Dr. Thorne, and it wasn't. So I could totally read one a month. Absolutely. And that's only 6. And so there are other books. He's got other series. I think there's one more series that has 6 books. And there's one that has like a couple that have 3, I think. And then there's some standalones. So are there other Trollope books that you recommend? Should I do another series? Should I do some standalones? If so, what? How do I do this? Do I read one every 2 months? Or, I mean, that's a long time to read a book, though. I know that for the most part, that's not going to happen. I'm going to just read. I don't think I could stand a book taking that long. It would drive me crazy. So, reading one every other month is not a good idea, most likely, unless you can give me a reason why I'm wrong. I can handle it. I mean, I could just, like, not take that second month if I don't need to. I mean, I could do that. But, on the other hand, I could read more Trollops. And so, but I do want it to just be Trollope the whole year. And I would love to come up with a really fun play on words like a very good year, right? If I could come up with something for Trollope, but everything I'm coming up with is completely inappropriate. So that's not going to happen. So I'll take opinions. I'll take opinions. I do want to do Antober again. I've even, let me see. Yeah, I even came up with a couple of prompts already, which is fun. And hopefully Shalise will be in a place this year that she won't be, you know, trying to move in like no time flat right after it, so that she can actually enjoy it. That would be fun. But, oops, projects, not things. That's not what I want. So there's that. And then I think I want to try something fun with the videos here that I'm doing. I don't want everyone to be like this, because I don't like to lock myself in like that. But I think it would be fun to kind of create videos that fit the books I'm reading. So like, I'm going to do Little House on the Prairie because it's a really easy one to do. So if I did Little House in the Big Woods, maybe part of the video for, you know, while I was reading it, you know, I could you know, make a little rag doll or whatever while I'm reading and talking and, you know, whatever. I'm trying to think of what happens in there. I remember there's like the pig's bladder. Not doing that. Seems like their mom made butter. I could totally make butter. But, you know, just do a few things that feel like it fits the book. Maybe just, you know, writing by candlelight or whatever it is that it is a thing. I think I want to do something like that. So that's probably a given. How many? It doesn't matter. I just want to at least do one that way. And then if I enjoy it, I'll do it more. And if I don't, well then, oh well. I want to read the first three Harvard classics. That 5-foot shelf of books thing. I was reading, there's a video, I'll try to link it. There's a video of this guy going through the Harvard classics and talking about how it makes a big difference in how you perceive things and how you think, and it kind of trains your brain. And I was like, you know, I've always wanted to read the Harvard classics. I mean, I've read a lot of the books on it. Like the first one, I think, is Benjamin Franklin's Book of Virtues, which I've read. But I can read through it again. It's not going to hurt me. I can go through my notes again and see what you know, so it could be a thing. But, so I think I want to read 3. I'll see based on that. I may end up reading more. I may be going like, oh, this is great. I just have to figure out how many of these I actually have. And do I want to buy their set so that I have the right, like introductions and whatever, those things that kind of go with it. I don't know. So what do you think about that? Just asking. Because I think a couple of them, they actually combine a couple of stuffs into a book. So I would have to have that one anyway. I don't know. What do you think? But I think I want to do I think I want to read at least 3 Harvard classics. And then I have a stack of ARCs. There's probably like 12? No, more like 8 ARCs that I have on my shelf that I want to read, because I haven't read them yet and I want to read them. So I want to read just all the ARCs that I have as of today. The new ones will come in during the year. I'm not going to count those as must before the end of the year, but the ones that I currently have, I want to read. And then 8, I want to continue learning to do this dictation thing. So for NaNoWriMo, this year, I always like to challenge myself on top of the, you know, 50,000 words in a month. I think it was the next year, I was like, I'll try to write with an outline. That was fun. I don't do well with outlines, but, you know, one, I tried to do sci-fi. I tried to do, well, this year I tried to do dictation. Let me tell you, this book is garbage. I mean, it will, not, as it is, you know, I can't just edit it and then, you know, let it into the world. No, it has to, I can pull bits and pieces from it and then totally write something else with those bits and pieces, because it's garbage. It's just really bad. But I got one story out of it that will actually be a picture book. My daughter is going to illustrate it because it actually turned out to be a super cool story. There are a few good things and the rest of it is garbage. It's so bad. But I want to keep learning it. And so dictation, I will continue, because yes. And then I want to try Vlogmas again. This time with no family emergencies. I'm just saying, let's actually do Vlogmas instead of the drama. I like it. I like it. Let's go with that. And then this is going to sound really ridiculous for someone who reads as much as I do and who loves books as much as I do. But I think it's time to get a library card again. I have not had a library card in probably 30 years. Yeah, probably 30 years. I think it's time. So I have this shelf. So this is why I'm not so sure about the Harvard Classics. So I have this shelf in my living room. And so like in our house, all around the ceiling of all the rooms, we have these shelves and we keep books up there. And I've been like, right now I have empty ones because I've been pulling stuff off and getting rid of books that I don't want anymore. You know, some of it was stuff I had for homeschooling. We're not homeschooling anymore because I'm retired. And so I got to get rid of some of it, and some of them were like multiple. I had multiple copies because of homeschooling and, you know, different kids needing them at the same time or whatever. Those are gone. So I've cut down a bit, but in the living room, my mom had bought the Franklin, I think it's Franklin Mint did all their classic shelves. And so they all look like the, you know, they're not really leather, but they look like the leather and they're really pretty. And she had gotten them because she was going to read the classics. That's what she decided she wanted to do back right after I got married, I think. She got them. She didn't like them. And so she was like, forget this. So she gave them all to me after spending all that money on them. So I have read more of them than I thought I had, which was kind of cool. I went a few months back, I went and I moved all the ones that I had read over, and it was like, I think I probably read like half of them, which I didn't realize I had. I mean, that was kind of cool. But I think what I want to do, so from those, they're all the classic things. I think I want to do try a chapter of 12 of them. And that just might be a video, you know, where I sit down and I read a chapter, and would I finish this book or not, and see how many I would. And I think I might pull them off at random and then make sure I don't have any that I have read, and, you know, switch them up. But I think that might be kind of cool. So I don't know, but I think I want to do that. You know, it's like I got these books and I tend to enjoy classics. Don't tend to enjoy Dickens. I like his adaptations better, but still, it's okay. It's a thing. It's a thing. It's a thing. And then I do want to do NaNoWriMo again this year. I've always loved doing it, and for a couple of years there, I just really couldn't. And this year, it was really nice to be able to do that. So definitely want to do NaNoWriMo again. And I want to try reading The Hobbit again. I'm going to try this again. I think I'll probably do it audio, but I think I want to make that a priority this year. I will like Tolkien. It may kill me, but I will like him. I just read a poem by him that was awesome. It was so good. I was like, whoa, okay. Clearly, I like something of his. That's step one. But I'm going to try The Hobbit again. It's like maybe I'm in the right place now. So at some point this year, The Hobbit. All right. And then I want to get my escape room, the library room. I want to get it finished. You know, it was getting really good. And then Lorna came home and moved all her stuff in there while she was getting her room done. Most of her stuff was out of there. And I was getting to where I could go back in there and finish it up. And then all this happened. And I had to move all the bookcases and craft stuff and everything off of, you know, we had a wall of it on my husband's side of the bed. So that I had all my, you know, stamping stuff and craft stuff and everything was all on shelves there. And I moved all of that out so that he had plenty of room to get in and out of bed and wasn't trying to like squeeze in there. And I wanted it super easy. So that room is now a disaster movie. And by the end of the year, I'm giving myself a whole year to do this. But by the end of the year, Deck Burn It, it's going to be done. So there's that one. And I know I keep taking these on and off, and that's probably kind of crazy for you guys. But seriously, I don't see well with them on unless I've got something in front of me. I'm incredibly, more and more every year, I'm becoming more and more farsighted. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I want to take December off and have nothing but Vlogmas for December. No podcast. I didn't do a podcast this year in December, and I was going to be doing a couple of extra episodes that, you know, I tried to squeeze in because books were releasing and I really wanted to help the author. But this happened and that ceased. I was like, nope, done. So I have to catch those up. So we're going to have a lot of episodes on the podcast for the first couple of weeks when I come back, but that's okay. But I really enjoyed having that, and like, because I had planned on that, so there were I didn't have to cancel a lot of interviews with Kevin, but it was just nice to have December like that. And next year, I think all I want is Vlogmas and just reading and Christmasing. Yeah, we're going to do that. And then, this year I want to continue to read, you know, with audiobooks. I love reading with audiobooks, but I almost exclusively do mystery and some suspense. That's almost all I do. This year I want to branch out. Because, you know, I learned how to listen to audiobooks, and it's a really important skill to learn. It was not natural for me. I learned using a epistolary novel. It was the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. That was the first audiobook I really listened to. It took me a while to train myself, but the Guernsey book, because they're letters, they're really short, so you can stop and, you know, think about it and process it. And if you missed it, it would be pretty easy to go back And you know, you're not skipping all the way back to a chapter. You just get to, so it was just easier, and it took me a while, but I got it. But I'm so glad, because seriously, there wouldn't have been a whole lot of reading happening at all in December if I hadn't had that. And so, yeah, I want to branch out and do some other stuff. It's not all I've done, but epistolary and mysteries in particular, those two are mostly what I've done. I want to try more. I want to move along and say whatever. So, I also want to finish or read, or whatever you want to call it, 12 of my NetGalley books. I don't know how many I have on there. I don't have tons, but I want to do just basically one a month. But I don't have to do one a month. I can do them all in 1 month if I want to. I don't care. But the general gist is, you know, I think I've got less than 20 on there. I want to get them off, because they sent them to me. I need to show the courtesy of actually reading them. And then I want to revive my reading journal. So I deliberately, a few years back, I don't know, 2 years ago, 3, I deliberately created a reading journal without dates. I didn't want to date it, because I get into these periods of life where I've got a book due or something, and I go dark and I shut everything out. I stop all extra stuff and I just focus. And when that happens, then if it's set up monthly, then I've wasted pages, and that bugged me. And so I finally decided, I'll forget that. Now, let me tell you, I'm having a really hard time, because, I mean, here I got this journal that I love and whatever, but I got stuff that is like stopped in the middle. And I'm like, because I don't even think I have like the rest of last year's Read Your Bookshelf Challenge books in it. I think of the last like 2 or 3, because I haven't used it in over a year. When I hit burnout, that was the end of it. And so I was just like, I want to start a whole new one, but I'm going to go through it. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to see, is there a way to, you know, just glue a couple pages together and then say it starts again and just move along? Or am I going to let myself start fresh? If starting fresh is the only way I can do it and enjoy doing it, then I'm going to start fresh. But I do want to revive it again, because I really loved using it. I really loved the journaling process, because it helped me process my thoughts. And so I'm like, I think I want to do that. I want to do it. And I think the real question is, will I continue it? I don't know. I'm not going to make myself. If I start and I'm just like, this is not how I want to spend my time, I don't have to do it, but I want to revive it and try it. That's the goal. The goal is not to use it every day for the year. It is to revive it, to try it and see if I want to do it again, because I enjoyed it when I did it. So there's that. And then I want to work more poetry into the rotation. That was actually something that Chantal Reads All Day's Read Your Bookshelf Challenge this year. One of the prompts was, read poetry. And I was like, why do I forget to have poetry around so that I can use it all the time? Because poetry isn't something that I just sit down and just read pages and pages and pages of. I like to read a poem, and then I like to read it aloud. And then I like to reread certain phrases that I like. And then I like to break it into little sections and see if there's, I don't want to just read a book from cover to cover, and yet sometimes I do. But as a general rule, I read the same poem, half a dozen times before I go on to another one. And I might not read the next one. I might read a few pages down, so I don't know. But I think I want to make sure that I always have a book of poetry up here to flip through until I'm done with it. And, I do that at times. There'll be, I think there's one by my chair it's not on my chair, it's the end of the couch, but in the living room, I think I've got one on that table there. But it just comes and goes. Sometimes I'll have it, sometimes I won't. I think what I really want is to make sure that I have one always, so that I love poetry. I don't want to let it go by the wayside because it's not handy. So yeah, there's that one. And then I want to participate in Jane Austen July, because Jane Austen and July And this year I've got the journal I made last year. So this year I definitely want to use it to, you know, take notes from the book I read and, you know, whatever I'm doing. But I really actually want to make Jane Austen July a fun thing this year. And then this is silly, and this is one of those weird things. So I want to rebind. So I want to get printed copies of my Winwood series. It's my medieval fantasy. I want to get printed copies, and I want to rebind them into hardbound myself. I got some really cool, like, gold filigree leafing stuff to tool into it, and I've got some really pretty, you know, covers and book cloth that I can use for it. And I thought, you know, I just want to make a pretty set for me, for the fun of it, because I want to do it. I want to do it with my Past Forward books really, really bad. But those, there's 6 of those, and I think I need to keep them at 6 by 9 because they're really thick books. Yeah, I think I want to do a smaller set first to see if I actually enjoy that before so we'll see. I don't know. But I think I want to rebind and create my own just because I can. Why not? And then I'm going to, okay, this is my last one that I've decided. This is number 22. But I'm going to unhaul 50 books. And it can take the whole year, but I need to keep a list of the ones that I've unhauled so that I know, or check a box or something. But I want to get rid of 50 books, either that I read and enjoyed, but I know I'm not going to keep. Books that why do I own this book? You know, people sometimes will give us books and they don't always end up back out the door. I want those gone, you know, just get rid of the chaff, because I live in a really small house. I don't need all these books. I want the books that I want to keep. That's what we're going for. So, yeah. There's that. Those are the 22 that I've come up with. One of the ones I was thinking about was, so a few years ago, my idea was to create a bookshelf quilt, you know, where you make the quilt just book spines. And I wanted to actually create it with my books for the spines, you know, write on them or embroider on the spine or whatever, you know, my titles and everything. That would be really fun. So that's something I could do this year. I know I'm going to be doing Kathy Swanson. Kathy Swanson does a like block of the month kind of quilt kind of thing every year. This year she's doing a couple of different block of the months, and then she's doing like this quilt along thing where you're actually making like 3 or 4 quilts over the year, and she gives you the stuff, and then everybody gets together and they chat and they talk while they're working, and they actually have Zoom meetings that they're going to do stuff on. And I'm going to do that one with her because it'll give me more time with Kathy, which is always fun. And I need to do more sewing and more crafting, because it helps. It actually does help my writing if I'm always doing other, you know, creative things too. So yeah, that could be, I guess it could be part of a goal, but I'm already doing it. I don't know if it counts. So what are some goals that I'm not thinking of that might be something I need to do? What do you think? I don't know. So many things. Neville thinks that the goal should be to buy lots and lots of bones. His ear perked up. He's like, wait, did she mention the B word? Now he's pouting because I don't have one in my hands. So those are 2024 goals. There are 24 of them. I wanted, you know, 2024. I just want to thank you guys for coming along for the ride. This has been a fun thing. I think I started this in June, and except for these couple of weeks here, I've kept up with it without it being a burden. And that was what I told myself, if this becomes a burden, you just stop. This is just, you can't do it. But it's not. It's actually been really disappointing that I couldn't be chatting and just, it's like, tell me about your books. What have you been reading? I can't do that. And it's been kind of hard this month because, I start talking books with the family and they just, the eyes glass over. And, so thanks again. I hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas and you have an even better New Year. And I will be back with my Read Your Bookshelf Challenge funness in just a couple days, because I'm going to have a few videos back to back to back to get me caught up, because I need to do this. I need to do the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. I have a book haul, and then I need to do my November, December wrap up. So those will be coming like really fast, back to back. The Thorns, I don't know. But, and then I'll be back to a normal schedule. But I'm going to have like my little mini 12 Days of Christmas or something thing going on to make this work. But that's okay. So I will see you very, very soon with my picks for the Read Your Bookshelf challenge.